Hello everybody, my name's Chris Sy and I'm the president of Carlisle, and today I wanted to share with you all of the various decisions that you can make when designing a floor with Carlisle. So today we're actually working in a light medium brown tone. It's called Sanctuary. It's one of our curated colors. We have 20 curated colors you get to work with. Much of the time we also work with our clients to invent their own personal color in our design studio, creating a custom color for them. Today we're working with Sanctuary, and really where I wanted to start out was to talk about the initial decision of structure. And by structure, what we mean is whether or not you're going to consider an engineered floor or a solid floor. At Carlisle, we make both. We use the same wood to make both. Both formats are sandable up to 3 times. We actually have a warranty guaranteeing that. So from an appearance and a performance durability standpoint, there's no difference between the two. So the question becomes, why would I choose one over the other? And the answer is very simple. It has to do with the environment of your home and what the relative humidity conditions are. So here's our engineered floor. You can see we have marine grade Baltic birch on the back. We have a 4mm slice of white oak on the front. This should only be used in environments that are going to maintain 30% or higher relative humidity. The risk of engineered flooring in excessively dry climates is that the face wear layer will dry out too much and actually split. In the cases where we have a very dry climate, we're actually going to want to use a solid floor. You can see this is a solid piece of white oak, 10 inches wide, 3/4 of an inch thick. And what happens in drier climates for this floor is you're actually going to let it acclimate. It's going to shrink a little bit, and then you're going to install it and be able to control the placement of gaps, but you aren't going to get the checking potential you see in the engineered floor. Now we're going to talk about width. And at Carlisle, because we make every floor one at a time, whatever color you choose or create with us can actually be applied to any width that you want. We can make floors as narrow as 4 inches wide and as wide as 12 inches wide. Here you see a 6-inch wide plank. Because of the way we cut the timber, you're still getting a tremendous amount of vertical grain with some liveliness of the plain sawn grain running down the middle. These floors are all 2 to 12 feet long, which is a very important aspect of the dimensions because you don't want a wider plank that's overly short. It starts to feel like a tile or a brick in the floor versus a really traditional long plank wide width board. Our most popular width is our 8-inch board, which is what you see here. You can see we have even more vertical grain. We still get the richness of the plain sawn grain down the middle. These planks are still 2 to 12 feet. It's just a little bit wider than the 6-inch. And then last, we actually have a 10-inch wide board here. You can see we just continue to add vertical grain on the edge. We still get the richness of the grain down the middle, but now we have a really large scale plank. And the reason you might choose one width over the other, I think is easy to understand when you see the 10-inch plank because of the scale. So this would be a board that you would certainly want to use when you have higher cathedral ceilings, larger wide open spaces, something that's going to carry the scale of the room. You don't want to have large doors, tall, expansive windows, and then a floor that is overly burdened by a lot of seams because you use narrow, short pieces that really are not carrying the scale of the space. At the other end of the spectrum is the 6-inch, which we see most often used in smaller spaces where the scale might not be quite as big, but people still want to have a nice wide plank that's going to reduce the overall number of seams in the floor, so it's not quite as busy as a short or narrow floor might be. Our core offering of 8-inch, I think, is the perfect middle-of-the-road solution. So this is going to create an 8-inch wide board. It's going to dramatically reduce the number of seams in the floor without feeling overwhelmingly wide. If you were going to pick one width for your whole house, this is probably the most versatile width. Another option with wide plank flooring created by Carlisle is to actually use all 3 widths in a floor. So you're going to get some 6, some 8, and some 10, and you're going to mix them randomly throughout the floor. This would be something you would do if you were looking to create a more colonial, more handcrafted, older feel to the floor, because all your original wide plank floors, the planks were each their own different width, so you saw that random width in the design. The last thing to consider when determining what width is going to be best for you may be budget. So if I have a house that's 3,500 square feet and the first floor is going to be large cathedral ceilings, big tall windows, larger doors, I'm going to want to invest in making sure I get a floor that carries the scale of that and doesn't make that scale collapse by being too narrow or too short. I also want to have wood flooring upstairs, and I want it to be in line with the same overall design that I have on the first floor, but I don't want to spend the money to do 10-inch in bedrooms and dens and guest rooms. So what we recommend there is to use a 6-inch board upstairs. Maybe you can even add some knots to make it feel more casual. And that's going to reduce your overall costs, your overall project costs, by using those narrower boards in spaces that may be more appropriate for them. So now I'd like to talk about grade. In our different structures, we have different grades. In both our engineered and our solid structure, we offer an heirloom grade, which is what you see here. Very clean, clear grade, cut more from the bottom very center of the tree, where if you do have any knots, they're very small. This is going to create a more refined, a little bit more formal look with its consistency and the lack of character from the original timber. So going to be a more formal floor. The next grade that we offer in both our engineered and our solid, we would call a signature grade. This is actually a blend of two different grades. It's going to be a combination of our refined heirloom grade and our character grade that we call original grade. Those two are blended together. So you're going to get some boards that have knots like you see here, and some boards that are cleaner and more refined. How you lay those grades out on site and blend character, where you maybe make one room a little bit more knotting in it, one room have a little bit less knotting in it. How you spread that out can be a fun exercise, but the outcome of the floor is really intended to be something that feels very organic, maintains some of the natural characteristics of the original timber. The last grade is original grade. That's only available in our solid, but for the customers who want the most character they can get, that floor is going to have some knots and checking, more color variation, a lot more going on that adds a bit more rustic feel to the floor. So those are the three grade choices you get to make with Carlisle. So now I want to talk about the choice you have in format, or whether or not you choose a plank or a pattern floor. So one format would be the plank, which is what you see here, available in different widths and grades, but it's really just individual boards, whatever width you choose, by 2 to 12 feet long, that are laid staggering the butt joints, and is certainly our most popular choice. But we do offer a lot of other formats. One of the most popular ones today is actually a chevron format. So this is 6 inches wide by 30 inches long. The floors actually meet at a 45-degree angle, so it creates a bit of a zigzag across the floor. Very traditional way to heighten and enrich in the design space of a dining room or an entryway or a kitchen. It really sets the space off with a unique design pattern. And this can be made in any width or grade you want, just like our plank flooring. The other floor that we have is a herringbone floor. Very traditional design, seen in a lot of your older homes. This format is 4 inches wide by 20 inches long. Again, can be made in any width or grade that you desire. Used in the same way a chevron would be used, to set off a space and give it a little bit more of a unique design feel, where you want the space to feel different than the rest of the home. Now we're going to talk about thickness, which is another choice that you get to make inside of designing a floor with Carlisle. So here in this 6-inch engineered plank, we're showing a 5/8 thickness. And then here in the 8-inch plank, we're showing 3/4 inch thickness. One of the advantages with Carlisle is that our wear layer in both these pieces is the same. It's a 4mm wear layer. It's the same thickness as our solid flooring, and allows you the opportunity to resand the floor 3 times. We actually have a warranty guaranteeing that. The appearance of the 2 floors is exactly the same. All we've changed is we've made the engineered component, the Baltic birch core, slightly thinner than it is in the 3/4 version. So why would I choose a 5/8 format versus a 3/4 format? And the answer is really simple. It has to do with the materials that you're butting up against. If you're going up against tile, or if you're going up against carpet or stone or whatever other materials you're using in the home, you have to transition from the wood to that other material. Depending on the thickness of that material, you may be better off using a 5/8, a thinner format, or you may be better off using 3/4, the slightly thicker format, so that you have a smooth, more even transition from material to material.